What would make a top-tier quarterback walk away from an NFL team without even saying goodbye? No Instagram statement, no heartfelt press conference, just gone. Like he was never there to begin with. Because that's exactly what just happened in Cleveland, where Shadur Sanders, son of the legendary Deion "Primetime" Sanders, strolled into town like football royalty, only to vanish before the pregame lights ever came on. And this isn't just about one player leaving early. No, this is a red flag waving above an entire franchise, a quiet but devastating message to the rest of the league. Something is seriously broken here. The Browns thought they had finally found the one. The miracle quarterback who'd break the curse, rewrite the history books, and save the city from decades of disappointment. Instead, they got ghosted harder than a bad first date, and now the fallout isn't just messy, it's nuclear. So what really happened behind those closed doors? Why did Shedeur dip without warning? And what does it say about a franchise that keeps turning promise into tragedy? Let's take a look inside the storm. The Cleveland Browns haven't just struggled to find a franchise quarterback, they've practically invented new ways to fail at it. Year after year, season after gut-wrenching season, they've drafted, traded for, hyped up, and ultimately destroyed a lineup of quarterbacks so long, it might need its own wing in the Hall of Shame. There's that jersey, the one that started as a tribute, and ended up as a tragic meme with the names of every next great hope duct taped over each other in a vertical timeline of heartbreak. Tim Couch, Charlie Fry, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, and now, possibly, Shadur Sanders. All of them walked into Cleveland with expectations strapped to their backs like 100-pound weights. None of them made it out with their legacy fully intact. It's like clockwork. A new face arrives in Cleveland, greeted with cheers, media buzz, and blind hope. Fans flock to the stadium in new jerseys, convinced this time will be different. Coaches smile through press conferences. Front office execs say the same recycled lines, "We believe in this guy." And for a few fleeting weeks, sometimes even a full season, belief actually takes hold. But then the cracks start to show. A missed pass here, a questionable decision there, and when things fall apart, as they always somehow do, the weight of the city caves in on one person, it's never the system. It's never the culture, it's never the franchise. It's the quarterback every time. He gets the blame, the pressure, the headlines, and eventually, the boot. And through all of it, Cleveland fans keep coming back, loyal to a fault. Still watching, still hoping, still dreaming that someday the football gods will forgive them for whatever they did to deserve this timeline of pain. But deep down, they know the pattern, they've lived it for decades. The Browns don't raise quarterbacks, they bury them. That's the environment Shadur Sanders walked into. Not just a franchise with a losing record, but with a full-blown identity crisis. A place where talent goes to fade, careers spiral, and reputations get reshaped into punchlines. And even with all his confidence, media buzz, and primetime DNA, Shedeur no doubt saw what so many before him didn't or refused to believe. This wasn't just another shot at glory. This was a setup. Coming up next, why Shadur's arrival felt like a miracle Cleveland didn't deserve, and why it blew up before it even began. When Shadur Sanders arrived in Cleveland, the energy shifted instantly. This wasn't just another rookie quarterback hoping to make a name for himself. This was the son of Deion, Primetime Sanders, one of the most iconic athletes in sports history, had walked through their doors like some kind of football messiah. And for one brief, breathless moment, it felt like the curse might finally be over. He wasn't your average draft pick. He wasn't the quiet, wide-eyed kid who came from a small school no one could pronounce. Shadur carried himself like someone who belonged on magazine covers, someone who'd grown up breathing the rarefied air of elite competition. He had the kind of confidence that didn't feel manufactured, it felt inherited. Everything about his arrival screamed different. He didn't just look the part, he was the part. Sharp custom suits, crisp interviews, viral highlight reels splashed across ESPN and TikTok. When he spoke, people listened. When he threw, people watched. The media dove in head first. His jersey started flying off shelves before he took a single snap, and Browns fans, jaded, miserable, desperate fans, started to believe again. Actually believe. Because Cleveland didn't just want Shedeur to play well, they needed him to save them, to rewrite the franchise's doomed destiny, to slap the cursed label off the locker room walls and give the dog pound a real reason to bark again. It wasn't just hype, it was hope, with a spotlight on it. And it felt dangerous in all the ways hope always does in this city. Behind the scenes, Kevin Stefanski, a coach whose job was already hanging by a thread, saw a lifeline. Shedeur wasn't just another player on the depth chart to him, he represented a second chance. The golden ticket out of the coaching carousel and onto solid ground. Unspoken but obvious was the idea that if this partnership worked, both coach and quarterback would rise together. If not, both would burn alive in the same fire. And here's the thing, it felt like it could work. There were signs, flashes, rumblings from insiders who said Shedeur looked the part in practice, made the right reads, carried himself like a 10-year vet. The buzz only intensified, especially from fans who were tired of being mocked in every meme and sports rant. This was supposed to be the moment it all turned around. But the fairy tale didn't even make it past the prologue, because as quickly as Shedeur arrived, he was gone. Coming up, a sudden disappearance that caught everyone off guard, left a city stunned and sent Cleveland right back into chaos. And just like that, he was gone. No farewell post. No exit interview. No thoughtful, "Thank you, Cleveland" tweet. Not even a vague statement crafted by a PR assistant. Shadur Sanders vanished with the kind of silence that makes people nervous. That eerie, dead air kind of silence you only hear right before something explodes. 1 minute, he was the talk of the town, cameras flashing, reporters crowding the field, jerseys printing in bulk. The next, it was like he'd never been there at all. No public signs of friction, no injury reports, no rumors about behind-the-scenes drama. Just straight up gone, like Cleveland was nothing more than a pit stop or a mistake he refused to admit out loud. For a city that had just opened its heart to him, it felt personal, like being left on read after pouring out your feelings, only to see your crush post a selfie with someone else 10 minutes later. Fans didn't even get the courtesy of a goodbye, just confusion, dazed media speculation, and pure, undiluted panic from inside the Browns facility. The franchise had bet big on him. Stefanski had given interviews practically glowing with confidence. Social media had been handed carefully curated images of Shedeur working with teammates, flashing that signature smile, giving quotes that seemed to promise more than just playbook study. And now, nothing. Blank space, empty chair, ghost town. Cleveland wasn't just disappointed, they were blindsided. The silence from Shedeur's camp was louder than any press conference ever could have been. And in that silence came the questions. What went wrong? Did he see something in the organization the rest of us didn't? Did something spook him? Or had he always planned on keeping one foot out the door from day one? Whatever the reason, the Browns didn't get closure. They didn't even get warning. And poor Kevin Stefanski? He looked like a man who'd been left waiting at the restaurant, glass of water sweating on the table, half reading the menu just to pass the time, slowly realizing the person he thought was the one wasn't coming. The scene turned from hopeful to humiliating almost overnight. It wasn't just a roster move, it was a message. A loud, unavoidable sign that things in Cleveland weren't just bad, they were untouchable. Up next, Stefanski's reaction goes from anxious to absolutely unhinged as the weight of this stunning desertion crashes down on him like a tidal wave. If you thought Kevin Stefanski would take the news professionally, smile through gritted teeth, and give the press a fluffy, "we wish him the best" statement, you don't know Cleveland football. Because when word came down that Shadur Sanders had officially walked without ceremony, without warning, Stefanski didn't just take it hard, he came unglued. This wasn't just another player skipping town. This was the guy, the one Stefanski had quietly pinned everything on. His job, his reputation, maybe even his last shot at NFL redemption. And now, gone. Like a magician's puff of smoke, except this trick ruined your game plan and took your career with it. Insiders say the meltdown behind the scenes was explosive. We're talking full scale, can't spin this detonation. One staffer described it as a locker room tantrum that outshined any post-game speech he's ever given. Forget broken tablets and raised voices, Stefanski turned into a walking panic attack with a headset. Red-faced, furious, pacing the halls like something between a man trying to restart a video game and one who just watched someone burn his dream house down on live TV. And let's be real, how could he not snap? This was supposed to be the season, the redemption arc. Shadur was the quarterback he was finally going to mold from scratch. Forget damaged veterans or disappointing draft picks, this was different. This one came ready-made, camera-tested, and carrying generational DNA. You could practically see Stefanski planning the future in his mind, the plays, the press, the playoff push. Instead, he was back to square one. Again. And worse, this time it wasn't the media or the fans breaking him. It was his own golden ticket deciding he wasn't worth the ride. One veteran player put it best. Coach was all in on Shedeur. Like drawing up plays on napkins at lunch, dreaming about packages, getting emotional at practice, all of it. Stefanski didn't just believe in Sanders, he romanticized him, and then woke up alone with nothing but the wreckage of another failed Browns experiment. And like every Browns horror story, this one unfolded faster than anyone could process. One moment you're sketching plays, the next you're staring down a quarterback room full of second-tier backups and prayers that someone develops into something. But the worst part? You can almost hear the ghost of Cleveland quarterbacks past laughing in the background because this feels exactly like every other time. The names change, but the heartbreak stays the same. Coming up, why Shedeur didn't just leave, he strategically escaped, and how his cold, quiet exit may have been the smartest move of his entire career. On the surface, Shadur Sanders walking away from the Cleveland Browns might look like cold feet. Maybe he couldn't handle the pressure. Maybe he didn't think he'd win the starting job. Maybe he wasn't ready. But zoom in closer and a very different picture starts to form. Because from the outside, this move seems reckless. He had a nearly guaranteed shot at a starting NFL gig, something most rookies would beg for. Spotlight, fans, legacy on the line. Why throw that away? But here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe Shedeur didn't throw it away at all. Maybe he executed one of the smartest moves of his entire football career. Let's be honest, Shadur doesn't move like your average rookie. He doesn't talk like someone just happy to be here. He's methodical, calculated. And his last name alone carries weight in every NFL building. He's spent his entire life being groomed, not just to play the game, but to understand it like a businessman. Because when your dad is Deion Sanders, a living icon who flipped the sports world on its head, you grow up learning how to think 5 steps ahead. This wasn't an emotional decision. This was strategic. He's seen what happens to quarterbacks who enter Cleveland feeling like saviors and leave looking like cautionary tales. He saw what happened to Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel, and even Deshaun Watson, talented players reduced to memes, booed by the same fans who once bought their jerseys in bulk on draft night. That's not the path you choose when you're trying to build a legacy. That's the one you run from. And more importantly, maybe Shadur Sanders understood something most players don't realize until it's too late. You don't always get a second chance at controlling your narrative. If he flames out in Cleveland, even if it's not entirely his fault, that stain could follow him for years. Fans lose faith fast. The media turns on you faster. And NFL GMs? They remember. They always remember. His draft stock, his branding power, his entire career blueprint could have gotten derailed before it even started. So maybe walking away from Cleveland wasn't a failure. Maybe it was survival. Because while the world was expecting a rookie to prove he was ready for the NFL, maybe Shedeur was proving something else entirely. That he was already wise enough to know when to walk away from a house that's on fire, even if everyone else still believes they can fix it. Coming up next, how Shadur saw through the Browns' curse, and why generations of failure may have driven him to make the most ruthless and brilliant decision of his young career. People love to talk about the curse. Most treat it like a joke, a funny graphic ESPN trots out every few years, the endless quarterback list stitched across the back of a cursed Browns jersey, like some medieval scroll of doom. But the deeper you look, the less it feels like a joke. And the more it feels like something very real, something Shadur Sanders saw coming from a mile away. This franchise doesn't just fail quarterbacks, it eats them. You walk into Cleveland with ambition, swagger, and a dream. And if history has taught us anything, you leave with bruised confidence, declining trade value, and questions about whether you were ever really good to begin with. Just ask Johnny Manziel, hailed as the savior, flamed out into chaos. Or Baker Mayfield, a #1 overall pick, who gave the city its first playoff win in forever, only to get tossed aside like old equipment. Or Deshaun Watson, once one of the most electric QBs in the league, now playing more like a ghost haunting his own legacy. The list goes on, and it gets more tragic with every passing year. This is the energy Shadur walked into, and why can you blame him for walking right back out? In some cities, underperforming means your jersey goes to the sale rack. In Cleveland, underperforming eventually means you become the punchline. The problem with playing for this franchise isn't just the losing, it's what that losing does to you. It rewrites the way the world sees you, and worse, it rewrites the way you see yourself. Everyone arrives hoping to be the one who breaks the cycle, the quarterback who finally plants their flag in cursed ground and comes out the other side, a Cleveland hero. It's beautiful to think about, it really is. But that dream comes with consequences, because every QB that's tried to beat the curse head-on, they didn't just lose games, they lost identity. They lost the very thing that made football fun. And no amount of talent is immune to that. But here's what separates Shedeur from so many who came before him. He knew the story, and he refused to become part of it. He saw the bodies in the quarterback graveyard. He read the headlines. He listened to the whispers. And instead of waiting for the curse to claim him like everyone else, he dipped out on his own terms. That's not weakness. That's intelligence. And it's exactly why this exit wasn't random, messy, or reactionary. It was calculated. A proactive move to dodge the storm before Cleveland's curse had the chance to write his obituary too. Coming up, how this exit sent shockwaves far beyond Ohio, and what other NFL teams are now starting to say quietly behind closed doors. What Shadur Sanders did wasn't just a headline grabber or some dramatic rookie decision that'll get buried by next week's game highlights. It was a siren, a 4-alarm fire ringing through the league. Because when a young, hyped quarterback with pedigree, media pull, fan interest, and genuine talent refuses to put on the jersey before taking a single snap, that's not just a roster issue. That's a cultural red flag. And you better believe the rest of the NFL is watching. General managers, scouts, personnel execs, they're all paying attention. Quietly, closely. Because when a player like Shedeur says no thanks to what should have been a dream opportunity, it forces the question, what's going on in Cleveland that we aren't seeing? This isn't just about one player walking away. This is about the deeper rot that so many have tried to ignore for so long. It's the quarterback whisperers who never deliver, the inconsistent coaching, the front office fumbles, the weight of expectation pressing down so hard it snaps every promising prospect in two. It's the identity of a franchise that doesn't know who it is, but insists it's ready to win. Let's be brutally honest here. If Shadur Sanders' confident, savvy, and brand-aware saw Cleveland as too radioactive to risk, what elite QB would take the job now? What rising star wants to hitch their career to a franchise where careers seem to go to die? And for the Browns, where does it go from here? Kevin Stefanski bet his future on this kid and was left standing in the rubble. The fan base opened their hearts again and was ghosted harder than ever before. The jersey meme gets one more name added to its tragic list, but now it doesn't just look funny. It looks broken, definitive, final, because this time, it wasn't injury, or bust potential, or legal trouble. This time, the quarterback chose to walk away. Voluntarily. Silently. Cleveland didn't lose a future star because of bad luck. They lost him because someone finally saw the curse before it hit, and that changes everything. So here's the question, hanging in the air like a cloud over First Energy Stadium, one that every fan, every executive, every frustrated voice in Cleveland has to ask themselves, what if the curse isn't something that needs to be broken? What if the curse is Cleveland?